Welcome to the Third Eye Podcast. Once again, we have gathered. I apologize that this video is coming out a day or maybe too late. I had a bit of a mishap with the last video where I come out the other side of an interesting little journey, and I was fucking with all of these knobs, and excuse me. I was fucking with all those knobs over there on this little thing over here, that makes me echo, and, pressing buttons like this, and I turned one of them down and made my voice not come through at all. And so I recorded the entire video where I could hear myself in the headphones, but I unfortunately did not record my actual voice into the video. So here we are, trying again, because I can't not go putting up a video. Can't not do that. I gotta at least do that, no matter if it's shit or not. The one that was supposed to be up was 25 minutes. We have no idea how long this one will be. So, however, everything seems to happen for a reason. I said some very interesting things in that will never reach the light of day now. And I think that it was probably for a good reason. I don't know what that reason might be. I can't be the judge of that, unfortunately. But it was a good thing that during these moments where I was re-inhabiting my body and playing with all these fun little knobs over here like a monkey would do, I ended up doing exactly what I needed to do in a way. Because the things that I talked about in that episode that will now never be heard except through my thoughts once again and be partially reiterated. I don't know. Was it important? Did we miss anything? I don't think you missed anything. You're here again, aren't you? So, everything that I think about will likely be talked about over and over and over again. So, I apologize in advance for the admosiums. And, however, on a different spin, let's go and think about. I want to think about, for example, now, why it is that when I communicated to a friend that I wanted to communicate to a version of myself that was in a realm where they had it all figured out. I wanted to communicate to a version of myself that had, let's say, theoretically made all of the right decisions. I want to talk to that guy, and I want him to help me, give me advice, guidance, whatever you want to call it. Do whatever you can from that place that you are, in that place of all the right decisions made, and help me get to where you are from where I'm at. It may not be exactly the same, but it would definitely be a million times better than where I am now. Now, that's not to say that I don't appreciate where I'm at now, because where I've come from, I've made significant positive changes. Right now, looking at myself in a little Polaroid picture over there, I was at least 100 pounds heavier. And I wouldn't say I would want to go back to that. 5 years from now, I definitely won't be saying, when I see this video of myself from 5 years ago, I'll be saying to myself, well, I don't want to go back there. I like where I'm at. I've made positive, significant changes. So, I can tell, because of that, that I am probably on the upswing, would be my guess. It doesn't matter to me if these videos get views, although I do see where getting views goes. And I recognize that if it were to go somewhere, I would. I am not going. See, people go on the downswing because they don't pay attention to their environment. They don't allow their perspective to broaden. They don't allow answers to come to them. When I say they don't allow it, now that's not every single example for every single person, but in my experience, I was in a place once upon a time where I wouldn't allow myself to even succeed. And that's the closest in words I think I could get. Like I wouldn't allow myself. I remember once upon a time, it's just about as far back as I can remember, like one of my earliest memories, entering into some stupid thing where it's like a drawing at a school, and if they pull your name, you win this thing. And I remember thinking to myself back then, I probably somewhere between the ages of like 3 and 5, something like that. I don't know, maybe I don't know, possibly younger. But I remember thinking, I'm not gonna win this drawing. I never win anything, and I'm never going to win anything. And I definitely didn't win that drawing, of course. But what what you're thinking about matters. And if you think of yourself on an upward path, you may very well head that way, especially if you diligently make, small, almost meaningless sacrifices in the moment to try and pursue that upward goal or upward aim. Like, people who can't force themselves to do something that would be good for themselves are struggling from limited perspective. And opening up your perspective is the only way I think you could possibly get out of the hole you're in. Because, like, you know, the analogy here is, let's say you're at the bottom of a well and you look up, there's a tiny light that shows you the way out. The only way out is up if you're at the very rock bottom of that well, or maybe you're in a pit of water and it's freezing cold. Doesn't matter. Regardless, the point here is you look up and you have a limited viewpoint of where the light is, where the good is, and where things could possibly get better for you. And every possible direction headed to that is seemingly insurmountable, climbing out of this well. To those who have everything, more will be given. To those who have nothing, everything will be taken. You have it. That's, I would say, it's very important. That's why no matter where you are, you can be happy with where you're at too. Because if you can see that you have everything you need to get where you want to go, if you can notice that you're at the bottom of the well, but look up and see that there's light and realize that, well, I can definitely head that way because it's like kind of the only direction to head to unless I stay down here. Well, then you're going to make probably incremental changes to get you up there. You have to be able to recognize that that's possible, though. You have to be able to allow. How do you do that? How do people do that? Some people get there because a family member dies, and they recognize that the only way that I am not going to end up like them is if I make sure that I don't do X, Y, and Z that they were doing. And, that can work, but there's a superpower in psychedelics that allow you to open your mind up to more possibilities, to remove that limiter, the governor on your mind. Some people, if you take the David Goggins route, you can grind yourself past all of that to be able to do whatever you want to do. But, I'm not saying David Goggins isn't like one of my heroes, but I definitely don't want to end up in the body state that he's ending up in. Although I appreciate deeply everything that he's done as to show, for example, in a manner. And I do also think that because of that, it shows us and me what we're capable of, which allows me to, in turn, learn what I'm capable of as a human. I can do that if I wanted to, but I have very different goals. And on the path to trying to become who I think I should be, I often end up finding out, no, that's not what I ended up needing to be doing. But that is still very valuable to me. For example, like becoming some world renowned fighter. Don't think that's really necessary anymore. Sorry to disappoint. If you wanted to see me out there, I definitely would still love to compete, and that just sounds like fun. I like the idea of having fun, and I'm down to do that. Definitely going to compete, but beyond that, the point is I don't. When I came out here and started chasing that, I realized, you know, there was some kind of spiritual wear and tear, and that's because I'm not putting what the vehicle needs in the vehicle, and the vehicle doesn't need to become a world renowned champion. That's not what it's here to do. It's here to do something different, but there is still infinite wealth of knowledge in a martial art. So I'm still going to definitely incorporate that into the lifestyle. So upward aim. You got to have an upward aim. You got to be mobile. You got to be able to move your body, and you got to be able to defend yourself, to feel confident in yourself. If you can't feel confident in yourself, well, um, that's a problem. Not only because all sorts of things will obstruct you from doing the things that you want if you're insecure, but when you're insecure, you also can't well, the littlest things trip you up. When um when you're insecure, sorry that I'm trailing off a little bit. When you're insecure, for example, you're typically it's easy to tell if you're insecure if you're not going to the gym, for example. If you're not taking care of your body, if you're not trying to um, be healthy and stuff like that, you're typically insecure, and it's obvious because you don't want to go out. You don't want to. You don't. And when I say go out, I do kind of mean like on your own. Like, why can't you go out without a friend? Why can't you go on a hike on your own? Why can't you go on a walk on your own? Why can't you uh, inhabit a space in this world on your own? Because you are a piece of this world, an individual, you could say, and you are a piece of the puzzle. You can't just not interact because then life will take you out. Insecurity will take you out entirely, and so remove insecurity entirely. Psychedelics helped me do that too, if not only for a moment, which is extremely valuable when it comes to thinking about things. If you have a hard time coming to conclusions because of your insecurity, which is very real, then it can help you do that as well. You can do all these things. You can do all these things. Taking yourself away from your body is not only, well, see, that's another thing too. Some people are really scared of it. Why? I don't understand. Well, some people are scared of it. There's an atheist that I know. No, not an atheist, sorry. He's now agnostic, but he was an atheist. And now he says he doesn't know because he seemingly met something that was like God or a God or whatever you want to call it. And now he doesn't know. And he says he can't possibly do that again because he's got enough shit going on in his head. Life is a curious endeavor. Why are we here? Why am I here? I definitely feel a responsibility to help other people in a way where most of them are not being helped. And one way that I do that is by opening people's minds and shifting their perspectives on things. That is something that I am uniquely capable of. And one thing that I have realized is it is a superpower that I have that is at its full strength when I remove the limiter of time from the equation. When I don't put time constraints on something that I want done or something that I want for myself in life, it comes to me. So when I come across a human being who is a good person, who has some aspirations, some goals, maybe even, and it seems like there's, especially when they say it seems like there's something missing, that's when my eyes light up and I'm like, there is something missing, brother. There is something missing. And it's good that you recognize that. And then those people are introduced to an opportunity where their mind can be expanded and they become apprehensive. And why is that? I know it might seem unpredictable. I know stepping outside of yourself seems scary, or that maybe perhaps even stepping inside of yourself seems scary because you feel that there are things inside of you that are terrifying. I have seen things that if they are inside of me, they are definitely terrifying. The most inexplainable thing I've ever seen, which could be considered inside, outside, I don't know what you would call it, was in this, what would you call it? Is it a mental state? Is it a psychological state? Is it a biochemical state? Whatever the state my brain is in this moment allows me to perceive an entity that, imagine for a moment, in pitch black, eyes closed, I feel something off to my right, kind of, just off to the right, and there are no words spoken, but what is understood, what is translated and understood entirely, completely without words, mm, mm, it commanded my attention in that direction. Eyes closed, legs crossed. I turned my head to look in that direction, and in the pitch black at 3 in the morning, maybe, really early, before the sun comes up. Yes, we all get it. The setting is set. it its tendrils, its arms, its infinite amount of arms begin to come into view. And they start off black with white outlines, sort of, kind of colorless. And then as more limbs and tendrils start to pour in from all angles and swirl and move like a mass, they congeal and form in the middle to kind of like seemingly grab the blackness that is this kind of almost like a bubble I've created around myself. The blackness that surrounds me is a bubble, and it rips it open with its many limbs. No hands, just tendrils. It opens, and a face emerges from the center of it. Two glowing eyes that are bright yellow, I would say maybe orange. And when it pulled in to the realm like it did, it became everything. Imagine looking up to the sky, and the entire sky is the face of something. That's kind of what it felt like. It was, for all of about 5 seconds, absolutely terrifying and fully encompassing a fully immersive experience. The tendrils went from a colorless outline to beautifully radiating rainbow colors that would the colors would run down each tendril, and it was every single color I could imagine, and also colors that I can't imagine, because some parts now on the other side of the experience I can't. It's almost like my brain can't render what I saw, so it kind of seemed like it's like trying to remember it as black and white, but there was also rainbows there. So, and its face was made its face was, imagine a dead animal skull, dry and bleached white. Its face was made of a skull. The skull would split open symmetrically from the center and spread outward, and then another skull would come out, split, and it would like water waving down, spreading down a mountaintop. It would constantly change its face to another dead animal. And so you can understand why that's terrifying. But it didn't say anything. It didn't do anything. I became not terrified and just looked at it and scrambled to, for a moment, scrambled for a little leather bound notebook that I had to try and draw what I was seeing. And at some point, looking back on it now, it's funny to me. I kind of feel bad. Like, I should have been just paying attention. But I couldn't get the notebook to draw it, so I did realize I need to just sit here and see what I'm seeing right now. So I looked at it very carefully and observed it. And then when it began to finally disappear, I went and I got the notebook and I carefully sketched it out for the next couple hours and then colored it. And it's it's a very nice little drawing in this report notebook. But what is that? Was it death? Was it? I mean, I don't think it was that. That's not a simple answer, obviously. But have other people seen this thing? Have other people experienced it? It can't be just me. I have experienced some things that other people say that they have experienced too, which makes me wonder if their interpretation is correct. What is it we are all capable of experiencing out there? And also, if we're all capable of experiencing it, is it something that's localized to us? Is it something that's interacting with us on a level that we just don't understand? And if we did understand it, maybe if we, like anything, if you can understand it better, you can, just like using a hammer. You know what I mean? If you know how to use a hammer and everything that it's capable of doing and what it's for, then you can maybe come to understand what a nail is and how to use it and how to maybe build a house. It's obviously not that simple, but the point there is being able to understand even a piece of it. Maybe we could use that knowledge in a good way, because I think everything has a good and a bad side, kind of like technology. I think, there's people say there's an infinite number of positives, and the infinite number of negatives is 10 times for AI and so on. I think it's our perspective. We have a perspective right now. We live in a world where there's a lot of chaos and crazy things going on, a lot of good things going on. Maybe there's more chaos than good, but that doesn't mean we can't shift the tide and still make it where there is a world of infinite positives, not just where there's 10 times the infinite of evil. I think there's possibly a balance. There is an equal amount. It's just whatever we choose to focus on and shift towards. And I don't know. So, I wouldn't say that this stresses me out, but sometimes, especially when I, feel like I've definitely not conveyed something decent here, throughout the rest of the week, I'll be thinking, I could have said that. I could have talked about this. But shoot, That's what this self-discovery thing is about. This is why I listen to it, because I, if no one else, I talk to myself when no one else is around. I have my own thoughts. I don't literally talk like out loud, but obviously sometimes I can. It just depends on when I feel present in that moment to do so. So, for example, I definitely don't ever really feel like I'm fully alone. I definitely feel like I am watched or protected or whatever you want to call it. There's other forces going on around here, and they're present when I least expect it, especially. But I wonder how that ties in with wanting to reach out to a version of me that's in a better reality. I wonder if he has the capability to have an effect on my reality in ways that I just don't understand. Because seeing that entity was crazy, but it's nothing compared to something that completely dilates time. Seeing this version of myself this one time, it's I don't it's almost like I can't tell if it was a dream or if it was something more. I don't know. But point is, it was kaleidoscope to a blind man. It was otherworldly. It was the way that I seemingly consciousness, and I became fully just a consciousness, and I passed through this portal, this I in an infinite liminal space. I passed through this portal and see this version of myself in an amazing realm. And sometimes, whenever I come back from some of those, uh, eyes open, I'll look around the place that I'm in, and it will appear to me different than it is. It like I'll look at my wife, and I just can't stop saying "wow" because it's hard to explain. That it's like I'm seeing more of her, and when I look at my surroundings through the periphery, I see more of it, and it appears different than what I know my apartment will look like 30 minutes from that moment. And when that happens, I wonder what's because I heavily believe that it's always trying to show me something. It's trying to show me something, and the thing it's trying to show me has a, not a, like an end goal. It has like it has an effect it's trying to apply on me, and what I get the sense of is it's showing me my future in a way. And I think now that's why when I think back to that one particular journey where I saw that future, seemingly a version of myself, different version of myself. He was just smiling at me. I think what he was smiling about now is I have all this angst, you know what I mean, about being special or ending up where I want to end up and trying hard to get there and all these things like that, like we all do, we get caught up in life. And I think he's just smiling at me because he knows, like, you're going to end up right where you want to be, right where you need to be, right where you want to be, and you're going to have everything you possibly ever could have dreamed of. He's smiling at me because he's like, you're worried over nothing. You know what I mean? You're worried over. That's what that looks like. That's what it looks like to me. And sometimes when I hop out and I come back and I look around in this realm, I feel like it's still being shown to me. You know what I mean? Still very much being shown to me. Like, hey man, this is what it looks like. It's way better than you think. Don't other people deserve that? Don't other people? And there's a responsibility to some degree to spread what's capable for me to other people in a careful and structured way. I think when some people are like, man, a breathing exercise, really? Like, you have to try it. You have to try it first. If you try 30 rounds of Wim Hof's breathing exercises and you do, 30 breaths and 4 rounds of the breathing exercise and pay attention to how you feel, it's an interesting experience. You can access very otherworldly and mind-blowing and profound places in your mind with just breathing. There's lots of ways to do this. And some people like I it's weird because I will feel nervous before going into an experience or a journey every single time, pretty much. Every single time. And then when I'm in it and when I come out of it, it's always the same feeling of why was I scared of that? Why was I fearful of that? But yet at the same time, this thought comes in about like destiny and path and what am I here doing and shit like that. And I look around and I realize I'm the only one doing this. I'm the only one. Okay. I'm not literally the only one doing this, but when I look around at my circle and the people that I know and the people that I care about, I'm the only one doing this at least the way that I'm doing it. Now maybe there's someone out there I know personally who's I don't know, getting the deep down low on the downloads. I don't know. But if they are, they're sus about it. I don't know. You can access these things with your breath. So what's the holdup for some of these people? They're like, if they don't want to try a psychedelic, maybe just try breathing. Because, I've done it and it works. So why don't you just try breathing? I mean, you can have extreme emotional control if you can teach yourself just to breathe calmly when you're stressed out. Who would have thought that doing a certain pattern of breathing would allow for life-altering experiences? In case you don't know the Wim Hof breathing method, it's essentially super easy. It's just you breathe in fully and then you let go. You don't breathe out all the way, you just let go. So, and you do that 30 times, 30 breaths, and then on the last exhale, you just let go. Exhale all the way if you want. Exhale most of the way, I would say. Your body's going to use up what little bit of oxygen is in there very quickly. Exhale, and then hold your breath. Your empty breath. I have practiced it, and I can go up to almost 2 minutes now with no air in my lungs. I can hold my breath with no air for almost 2 minutes now. And I started at, only being able to hold that for like 25 seconds. It's pretty interesting what that does. And also, it's incredibly interesting how you're feeling by the end of that. And it's also incredibly interesting if you decide to continue doing that with your eyes closed. So, there's many ways to get to the place of where I'm at, where I believe I'm at, which is this kind of vague understanding that there's a whole lot more going on than I can ever possibly comprehend, but I don't have to comprehend all of it. I can do a whole lot by just accepting what comes my way, trying my best, paying close attention, and allowing for open-minded, profound experiences to come my way as often as possible. Because every time one of these little journeys takes place, I come back with valuable, meaning, fulfilling, giving information that leads me to live my life so happily that that people around me are like, and I am not joking. There are some people who every time, I mean, I try to be happy, but at the same time, I'm just happy usually. Like 90+% of the time, I'm in a good mood, and when I'm not in a good mood, I'm not an asshole and I'm not mean. But you can tell like there's a little something off, and I'm usually honest. And if it's like something that's beyond the depth of what I want to explain to you or should explain to you, or is too personal, well, I'll just let you know I'm just not having a great day. But my literal response is usually, if I'm really not having a good time, and people can tell, and I'm not radiating like I usually am, I'll just be like, I'm not having a good day, but like, it's fine. And that's shocking to some people. And people will be like, why are you always so nice and happy? And it's really hard to explain to them that the reason I am so nice and happy and joyful and grateful and filled with meaning and loving my life is because life turned out to be a lot more interesting than I thought it was. I never thought when I was 15 that I would be contacted and or communicating with a version of myself that's in a different reality. I never thought to myself that I could leave my body, and I also thought that it's not necessarily that I thought, but it's just the not knowing of what would happen when you die was extremely obstructive of having clear thoughts. I would say when you like kind of when you really feel like if you die it's over, then man your life I don't know, your life just sucks in a lot more ways than you can possibly count. And so yeah, I never thought that I would reach a point where I knew that death wasn't of concern, really. Like, I know I don't want to die right now. I don't want to have a stroke in front of this camera and then the video never get uploaded. I don't want to get in a car crash and whatnot. I don't want to die, but I'm not scared of death anymore. Yes, it could be painful, whichever way might be destined for me. Hopefully not a painful one. But yeah, I'm not necessarily scared of dying, which is funny because back in the day when I was suicidal, I could have said the same thing, but now it has a whole new meaning. But I'm not scared of dying because I know there's more going on past that. It's just a different state. Dying is going to be a transition. Dying might as well be the same as, not obviously, but it's going from hot to cold. This literally, this body will go from hot to cold, and my consciousness will be like, well, the car's not working anymore, and it'll never turn back on again, so we've got to go somewhere else now. And I don't know, my realization of the fact that that's possible will probably allow me to not be recycled into a cat or a dog if that's how things work. I imagine if you die and you're horribly horrified and you just cannot accept that you're dead and cannot you must go back and you've got to, you know what I mean? You just cannot let go for some reason of the fact that you died and that this is how crazy things are on the other side of the outside of your body and that your consciousness was always going to go on and that you've been devilishly tricked that that's not the case, then maybe you get recycled because you just can't handle it. So, turn him into a cat. Turn him into a cat or a frog or something like that. Jeez, just can't handle it. He's freaking out over there. Turn him into something. Make him have instincts beyond his control. Wipe his memory. But I think if you can have some attention, if you can have an experience, one like mine, where you can realize there's a lot more going on than you expected, and you're willing to tap into it, willing to talk to versions of yourself that you didn't realize that was possible. There's another version of yourself out there, doing better than you are, but that wants to help you out too. Wants to and is throwing out like across time and across realities these these lifelines, these little floating things with rope attached to them, and these little what is it? Lifesavers. You know what I mean? Little circle things. You throw them out there, they're floaties, and to try and save people. And there's a version of you out there that's throwing these out across time like seeds, scattering them in hopes that you will pick up on them and and realize, maybe to even the smallest degree possible, even if it's not realizing that there is another version of you reaching out to try and help you and better your life, but just realizing, hey, if I acted on this thought that came to me, my life would get better. If you just realize that, then you're heading in a better direction. That's that could be it could be that's all they want, as well as that. And also, they if you're willing to recognize that it's beyond just a thought. If you're willing to recognize that it could be a version of yourself in a different reality, a whole new world will open up to how not only you perceive your thoughts, but how your thoughts come to you and what thoughts come to you. You'll get brand new messages because, see, that's what it seems like. Whenever I say like, "Oh, he's getting it," send him the messages. That's what I'm talking about when I say shit like that. To some degree, it could be that as well, where it's another version of me, and he's like, "Okay, he's getting it. We need to send him more complicated messages. We need to send him more data that's harder to diffuse, so that way he can ponder on it, and when he does crack it, it's going to be even more profound than the first initial, leveling up." And so recognize that. We often think that our thoughts are our own, but we may very well share them with an infinite number of ourselves. We share a channel, a wavelength, if you will, with the rest of every other possible version of you, and every possible timeline, and every possible instance or moment. There is a version of you out there living everything in every possible way. And you can probably, at least in my experience, if you want to, you could reach out to them and they will respond. And when they do, you're going to have a hard time reconciling with the fact that you think that's a dream. Because I was awake. But he's determined, and so am I. That's why we're here. Try reaching out. Does that not sound interesting? Does that not sound interesting? The idea that you can reach out to a version of yourself. If it's not the future, maybe it's a version of you in a reality, literally like I said, where they made every right choice. But is that not fascinating to think that you can reach out to another you, and they can, who better to talk to about this? I can talk to anybody I want about all of my problems, but the problem is they aren't in my shoes to understand it completely. Who better to talk to than a version of me who's already figured it out, who's already done it all right, and who wants me to end up where he's at? He's thrown out the lifeline. That's what it's called. He's thrown out the lifeline. And I've recognized that it's more than just a thought that can change my life. I've recognized that it's a lifeline from him. And I've grabbed onto it. And now he's reeling me in. And that's why, as he's reeling me in and my life's getting better, I have moments where I get a little too nervous to step out and have another journey. And then I'll start, he's still pulling me along, and I'm over there on the lifeline, the little safety boat thing, and I'm like, "Oh, am I special? Am I gonna end up where? I don't think I'm trying hard enough." I feel very insecure, and then I step out, have another journey, another little session, and then I realize, I come to the conclusion, motherfucker's smiling at me because I'm freaking out over nothing. I'm already on the right path. I've recognition that it's more than just a thought that's there to help is something beyond helpful. The fact that I can recognize that, see, some people will think that I'm literally crazy. I do not care. I am under no obligation to make any sense to you. I will repeat that. No obligation to make any sense to you. You don't have to think that this can work for you. You can watch this and think that I'm crazy, and you can comment that I'm crazy. Please do, because you know what? I don't think I'm really on here on the internet until somebody's hating what I'm saying. So, point is, I think that's very much possible that you can do that. That you can reach out to a version of yourself that, on a normal day-to-day basis, before you've ever heard something like this, you would think it's not even ever possible. The shit of movies, of books, is not possible. Our minds are much more capable than you can possibly think. Imagine a quantum computer for a moment. What are quantum computers doing? They're very likely reaching into other realities where a quantum computer exists, stretching across the particle realm and touching something divinely different, yet fully capable of gathering all the answers from their universe, an infinite pool of knowledge and technology. What if your mind can do the same thing? And what if the only thing stopping these profound experiences from happening is you believing that it's possible and then trying on even the simplest level, on even just breathing? What if that's all it took? And what if that's what they don't want you to know? Join me next time, next Tuesday, on the Third Eye Podcast. Yeah.